Imagine owning a piece of dirt that today generates billions of dollars in revenue every single hour. Now, imagine buying that entire island for the price of a fancy dinner at a steakhouse. $24. That is the legendary price tag of Manhattan. But here is the part they didn't teach you in school. The deal was a lie. The money wasn't even money, and the people who sold the island didn't actually own it. You are looking at the greatest real estate heist in human history, or perhaps the most expensive misunderstanding ever recorded. Today, we peel back 400 years of concrete and steel to find out what really happened on that fateful day in May 1626. We are diving deep into the shadows of history to uncover the truth about the $24 island. This isn't just history. This is a crime scene. In the early 1600s, the world was shrinking, and Europe was starving for a new kind of gold. Not the yellow metal from the mines of Peru, but something softer, fur. Specifically, beaver fur. In the cold, rainy streets of London, Paris, and Amsterdam, beaver skin hats were the ultimate status symbol. They were waterproof, durable, and cost a small fortune. The Dutch were the undisputed masters of trade. They didn't want to build an empire of land, they wanted an empire of profit. When the Dutch West India Company's ship, the Seamew, sailed into the mouth of the Hudson River, they didn't see a skyline. They saw a dense, untamed paradise of ancient oaks and rolling hills. They called it Manahatta, the island of many hills. But this new world wasn't empty. It was the ancestral home of the Lenape people. They had thrived here for thousands of years, navigating the rivers and hunting the forests in a delicate balance with nature. To the Dutch, this was a commodity. To the Lenape, it was sacred. This collision of worldviews was about to create a ripple effect that would change the course of human civilization. Enter Peter Minuit, a man whose name is now synonymous with the bargain of the millennium. Minuit was a businessman, not a conqueror. He knew that war was expensive and unpredictable. Contracts, however, were stable. He arrived in May 1626 with a specific mission: secure a permanent base for the Dutch fur trade. He stepped onto the muddy shores of the southern tip of Manhattan, armed not with cannons, but with a chest full of trade goods. He sought out the local inhabitants to strike a deal. The legend says he bought the island for 60 guilders. In modern terms, that's about $24. But that number is a massive oversimplification. Minuit wasn't handing over cash. He was handing over iron kettles, steel axes, colorful cloth, and those famous glass beads. To a European, these were mass-produced trinkets. But to a society that had never seen processed iron or glass, these were miraculous technologies. It was the 17th century equivalent of trading a piece of land for a fleet of spaceships. But as the smoke from the negotiation pipes cleared, one side thought they had bought a planet, while the other thought they had made a friend. Here is where the heist actually begins. The concept of private property, the idea that a man can draw a line in the dirt and say, "This is mine," was entirely alien to the Lenape. In their culture, land was like the air or the sunlight. You could use it, you could hunt on it, you could grow corn in its soil, but you could never own it. When the Lenape accepted the Dutch gifts, they didn't think they were signing away their home forever. In their tradition, a trade like this was a sharing agreement. They believed the Dutch were paying for the right to coexist, to hunt alongside them, and to trade as brothers. The Dutch, however, came from a world of fences and deeds. They walked away from that meeting with a piece of parchment that they believed gave them total exclusive control of Manhattan. The Lenape walked away thinking they had simply welcomed new neighbors who brought cool gadgets. It was a linguistic and cultural trap. The Dutch knew exactly what they were doing. They were applying European law to a people who didn't recognize it. It was the ultimate legal ambush, and the price was an entire island. Once the Dutch secured their legal claim, the fences went up. They built a massive wooden fortification at the edge of their settlement to keep out hostiles and competing traders. Today, that fortification is gone, but its legacy remains in the name of the street that replaced it, Wall Street. The tiny trading post of New Amsterdam grew into a chaotic, multicultural hub of greed and commerce. But the peace didn't last. By 1664, English warships appeared in the harbor, their cannons aimed directly at the heart of the city. Without a single shot being fired, the Dutch handed over Manhattan to the British. As the city transformed into New York, the Lenape were systematically pushed out. The sharing agreement they thought they had signed was replaced by forced removals and broken treaties. By the time the first cobblestones were laid on Broadway, the original inhabitants were ghosts in their own land. The $24 deal was no longer a treaty, it was a punchline. The victors wrote the history books, and they made sure the story emphasized their genius and the natives' naivety. Let's do the math. If those 60 guilders had been invested in a compound interest account at 7% back in 1626, that money would be worth over $10 trillion today. That is enough to buy every building, every subway car, and every square inch of Manhattan twice over. As we approach the 400-year anniversary of this deal in 2006, Manhattan stands as a monument to human ambition. Every skyscraper sits on land that was once traded for a handful of beads and a misunderstanding. Every time you walk down the canyons of Wall Street, you are walking on the site of a 400-year-old heist. The $24 deal remains the most famous real estate transaction in history because it represents the moment the world shifted. It was the birth of the global economy, built on a lie, a suitcase of beads, and a fence. Next time you look at the New York skyline, don't just see the lights, see the shadows. History is written by the victors, but the soil never forgets the truth.